Nightmares in the city of shadows. I never believed in monsters. Not until we moved to that quaint little town just outside of Chicago. It was supposed to be the fresh start my family needed. A place where we could finally find peace. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, I realized that something sinister lurked beneath the surface of our seemingly idyllic new life. We were a family of 4, myself, my wife Sarah, and our 2 children, Emily and David. The first inkling of trouble came one chilly October night. I was jolted awake by a deafening crash from the kitchen. Heart pounding, I rushed downstairs, my breath misting in the frigid air. The kitchen was in shambles. Plates lay shattered on the floor and chairs were toppled over. I turned to wake Sarah, but her side of the bed was empty. Panic seized me as I heard faint whispers coming from the shadows in the corner of the room. I squinted, my eyes adjusting to the dim moonlight that filtered through the curtains. There in the darkness I saw them. Twisted, grotesque figures, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly malevolence. They stood hunched, their limbs unnaturally long and sinewy, fingers ending in sharp claws that scraped against the walls. I stumbled back, my voice catching in my throat. The creatures advanced, their movements jerky and disjointed, like marionettes controlled by some unseen puppeteer. I bolted for the door, bursting into my children's room. Emily and David slept soundly, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding around them. I woke Sarah and we huddled together in our children's room, the faint whispers of those nightmarish entities echoing in our ears. Hours passed in terror-stricken silence, and as the first rays of dawn broke, the creatures vanished into thin air, leaving only a trail of destruction in their wake. In the following nights, the horrors continued. The creatures visited us without fail, their whispers growing louder, their presence more malevolent. We barricaded ourselves in our children's room, but the monsters were relentless, scratching at the door, their voices a chorus of torment. As the weeks passed, we became sleep-deprived shells of our former selves, haunted by the relentless onslaught of the creatures. Our once happy family was crumbling under the weight of our nightmarish ordeal. Desperate for answers, I scoured old town records, hoping to find some clue about the malevolent entities that tormented us. And then, buried in the dusty archives, I stumbled upon it, a long-forgotten legend of our town. It spoke of ancient, vengeful spirits that had been wronged by the townsfolk centuries ago, spirits that had vowed to torment the descendants of those who had wronged them. Desperation drove us to seek help from a local paranormal expert. She performed a ritual to appease the spirits, offering them peace and forgiveness on behalf of the town. The creatures, their faces contorted in agony, slowly faded away, their whispers finally silenced. Our family was free, but the scars of those terrifying nights would never fully heal. We had witnessed horrors beyond imagination, and the knowledge that such malevolence could exist in the world would haunt us forever. We left that town. Our fresh start turned into a nightmare we could never forget, a reminder that sometimes, the darkness that lurks in the shadows is far more terrifying than anything we could ever imagine. The Lost Girl in the White-Eyed Cave. The news of Emily's disappearance sent shockwaves through our small town. She had vanished while playing in the woods near our neighborhood, leaving her frantic parents, Jane and Michael, grasping at straws and searching desperately for any sign of their beloved daughter. The whole town mobilized to find her, but as the days turned into a week, hope began to wane. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest, Jane and Michael received a phone call. It was a hushed and tremulous voice. The voice of a neighbor who had ventured deep into the woods, led by an eerie, whispered melody that seemed to beckon from the heart of the forest. Without hesitation, they followed the voice, their hearts pounding as they penetrated the darkness beneath the thick canopy. They felt a compulsion, an irresistible urge to follow the haunting melody that guided them, each note more chilling than the last. As they journeyed deeper into the woods, the forest seemed to transform around them. The trees grew gnarled and twisted, their branches looming overhead like skeletal hands. Shadows moved between the trees, and the very air seemed to vibrate with a sinister energy. Finally, they stumbled upon a hidden cave, a gaping maw of darkness that seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. The whispered melody reached its crescendo, And as they entered, their flashlights pierced the gloom, revealing the unthinkable. There, seated in the center of the cave, was Emily. Her eyes, once bright and lively, were now completely white, devoid of any color or emotion. She smiled serenely, her lips curling up in an unsettling and unnatural grin. Her clothing was tattered, her skin pale, and she appeared to be in a state of trance. Jane and Michael rushed to their daughter, tears streaming down their faces. They called her name, but she did not respond. It was as if she were in another world, a world they could not reach or understand. They cradled her, their words of love and desperation falling on deaf ears. The whole town soon gathered at the cave, and a sense of foreboding hung in the air. Doctors, psychologists, and spiritual leaders were called in, but none could explain the phenomenon that had taken hold of Emily. Her condition remained a chilling enigma. Days turned into weeks, and Emily continued to sit in the cave, her white eyes fixed on some unseen horizon. The whispers in the cave grew louder, more insistent, their haunting melody consuming those who ventured too close. The town's collective despair deepened as they realized that Emily might never return to them, that she was lost in a realm they could not fathom. The cave became a place of dread, a source of nightmares for those who had witnessed the eerie phenomenon. In the darkness of the cave, Jane and Michael refused to give up on their daughter. They visited Emily daily, sitting by her side, speaking to her even though she could not reply. They brought her favorite toys, books, and photographs, hoping that some familiar sight or sound might bring her back to them. The town, too, learned to live with the unsettling presence in their midst, a constant reminder of the mysteries that lurked just beyond the realm of understanding. Some began to avoid the woods altogether, while others ventured into the forest in search of answers, hoping to unravel the enigma that had consumed Emily. As time passed, strange occurrences began to plague the town. Residents reported hearing the same haunting melody that had lured Jane and Michael into the woods. Shadows moved in the corners of their vision, and some claimed to have seen white-eyed apparitions in the dead of night. The cave's whispers grew louder and more insistent, their words taking on an eerie, mocking tone. Those who ventured too close to the cave spoke of a profound sense of dread and unease, as if an unseen force was trying to pull them into the darkness. One fateful night, a group of townspeople gathered at the cave's entrance, determined to confront the malevolent force that had taken hold of their town. Armed with flashlights and resolve, they descended into the cave, determined to uncover the truth. What they discovered in the depths of the cave would haunt them for the rest of their lives. The cave seemed to stretch on endlessly, its walls covered in strange symbols and markings. In the center of a vast chamber, they found Emily, still seated and smiling, her white eyes gazing into the abyss. As the group approached, the whispers grew louder and more frenzied, their words a cacophony of torment. Shadows writhed on the cave walls, forming grotesque shapes and figures. The air grew cold and suffocating, as if the very darkness itself was closing in around them. In a desperate bid to save Emily, they reached out to touch her, but as their hands brushed against her skin, they were met with an unnatural coldness that sent shivers down their spines. Emily's smile widened, her lips parting to reveal rows of sharp, glistening teeth. A wave of malevolent energy surged through the cave and the group was thrown back, their bodies racked with pain. They scrambled to their feet and fled the cave, leaving Emily behind in that nightmarish abyss. The town was never the same after that night. The whispers in the cave continued, growing louder and more deranged. Those who had ventured into the cave were haunted by nightmares and visions, their sanity slowly slipping away. Jane and Michael continued to visit the cave, their love for their daughter stronger than ever. They spoke to her, even though they knew she could not hear. They left tokens and offerings, hoping that one day Emily might return to them. The town, too, learned to live with the darkness that had settled over their lives, a constant reminder that there were forces in this world that defied explanation. The cave became a place of dread, a cursed and forbidden sight, a testament to the chilling mysteries that could lurk just beyond the edges of our understanding. And Emily, with her white eyes and eerie smile, remained lost in that nightmarish abyss, a haunting enigma that would forever haunt the dreams of those who had witnessed her descent into darkness. Whispering Pines. The woods stretched endlessly around us, a sea of ancient pine trees standing like silent sentinels beneath the starlit sky. The air was thick with the earthy scent of moss and damp soil, and the only sounds were the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant hooting of an owl. My family, my wife Lily, our 2 children, Emma and Sam, and I, had ventured deep into these woods for a camping trip, seeking a break from the noise of the city. The first night in the woods passed uneventfully. We gathered around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories. The children's laughter echoed through the trees, filling the night with warmth. But as darkness fell on the second night, an unease settled over us. A peculiar stillness draped the forest like a heavy shroud, and the air grew colder, carrying with it a sense of impending dread. That night, strange whispers began to drift through the pines, whispers that seemed to come from all directions at once. We huddled together in our tent, the whispers growing louder, their words incomprehensible, yet filled with a malevolent intent. Shadows danced outside the tent, their movements unnaturally fluid. Sleep eluded us, replaced by a growing sense of terror. The forest seemed to come alive with eerie sounds, a chorus of rustling leaves, distant footsteps, and the haunting melody of an unknown song. Lily and I exchanged fearful glances, but neither of us dared to venture outside to investigate. As the night wore on, the whispers grew more insistent, their words taking on a mocking tone. They seemed to beckon us, luring us into the dark heart of the woods. The children clung to us, their eyes wide with fear. We knew we had to leave, to escape the suffocating grip of this malevolent force that had invaded our campsite. With trembling hands, we packed up our belongings, the whispers now a cacophony that filled the night. Shadows darted through the trees, their forms shifting and merging. We stumbled through the forest, our path illuminated only by the pale glow of the moon. As we pressed deeper into the woods, a sense of disorientation overcame us. The trees seemed to twist and contort, their branches forming grotesque shapes. The whispers grew louder, their words a tormenting chant that reverberated in our minds. Panic threatened to consume us, but we couldn't stop. We had to escape. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we burst out of the woods and into a clearing. The whispers faded, replaced by the soft rustling of leaves in the wind. The sense of dread lifted, and we collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. The children clung to us, tears streaming down their faces. We never spoke of that night again, but the memory of the haunted woods would stay with us forever. It was a reminder that nature, in all its beauty, could also conceal unimaginable horrors, and that some places were best left untouched. The woods would forever be a place of mystery and darkness, a place where the line between the natural and the supernatural blurred, and where the whispers of the unknown could drive a family to the brink of madness.